News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Nathan Hager.
And I'm Karen Moscow.
Karen, oil is on the rise this morning as the U.S. ramps up its pressure campaign on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The Coast Guard is pursuing a third oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast, intensifying a blockade that the Trump administration imposed earlier this month. We get more from Bloomberg's Clara Ferrer-Marquez.
It's really a very significant ratcheting up of U.S. efforts to cut off what is a key financial lifeline for the Venezuelan economy. And remember that the Venezuelan oil industry is really decimated relative to what it was perhaps years or decades ago. But it is still, the political system has withstood quite a lot of this pressure. The question now is how much more of this can it take?
Bloomberg's Clara Ferrer-Marquez reports the pursuit of this latest vessel, Bella 1, comes after the Coast Guard boarded a non-sanctioned ship for the first time earlier in the weekend. Another very large crude carrier, the Skipper, was intercepted December 10th. China is accusing the U.S. of violating international law through these seizures. Venezuela ships most of its crude to China through intermediaries using so-called dark fleet tankers.
Well, Nathan, President Trump is nominating Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry as U.S. Special Envoy to Greenland to advance U.S. interests. The position would be a new one for the U.S., which has an ambassador to Denmark. Greenland is an autonomous Danish-dependent territory with self-government and its own parliament. It's the latest signal that the president is looking at increasing U.S. influence over the island he suggested he wants to purchase.
Karen, the Trump administration's defending its handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. That's after several images from the Justice Department's hundreds of thousands of documents were removed from the agency's website over the weekend. One of them was a photo of the future President Trump in a desk drawer full of photographs. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says this has nothing to do with the president.
You can see in that photo, there's photographs of women. And so we learned after releasing that photograph that there were concerns about those women and the fact that we had put that photo up. So we pulled that photo down. It has nothing to do with President Trump.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche appeared on NBC's Meet the Press. That photo was restored to the website last night, but Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna still has questions about heavily redacted documents included in the Justice Department's release.
The redactions were excessive, and even Harvard law professors who have looked at that have said you can't redact internal communications, you can't redact workforce product, and the courts are going to find that these were excessive.
And now, Karen, let's get to the latest on the war in Ukraine. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff says Trump administration officials held, quote, productive and constructive meetings with Ukrainian and European counterparts in Florida. Witkoff's comments follow last week's EU financial commitment to Ukraine. And we get more from Bloomberg Chief Europe correspondent Oliver Crook.
Imagine that you and I are negotiating something. I'm sitting across the table from you, and I have no money in the bank account versus $100 billion in the bank account. And that is the difference between today and 2 weeks ago for the Ukrainians. They now have this lifeline that was put out by the Europeans, 90 billion euro loan in the form of debt that is basically backed by the European Union, not necessarily in the form of those Russian assets. But that is absolutely consequential and very monumental in terms of getting the negotiating position. What it tells the Russians, and this is what the Ukrainian and the European point has been from the very beginning, is that this war will not be ended very, very swiftly.
Bloomberg's Oliver Crook says Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is casting doubt on Russia's commitment to end the war.
Well, let's turn to the markets now, Nathan, where futures are higher as we begin a holiday-shortened trading week. The NASDAQ 100 is poised to wipe out December's losses as revived appetite for technology stocks is powering gains across global equity markets. Rebecca Patterson, the former chief investment strategist at Bridgewater Associates, says the market has momentum going into 2026. And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moscow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.